Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I recently was very lucky and received a palette from Nomad Cosmetics. Through their Project Starfish program, I was able to choose a palette from their collection and I chose the Chamonix Apres palette. I've actually already filmed one video with this palette in collaboration with my friend Steph, who was also one of the winners of Project Starfish, and I go into all of that more in detail in that video, so I'll have that linked down below. But today's video is all about seeing what this palette can do and what kinds of looks we can create. I've come up with 3.5 looks for you in this video that I hope will give you some inspiration, including the look that I'm wearing right now. So if you would like to see my looks with the Nomad Chamonix Après-Ski palette, then just keep on watching. Alright, for the first look, I really want to play with the soft, like muted purples in this palette. So I think for my crease, I'm going to go with the shade Off-Piste. I could start with Last Call, which is that like baby blue, but I feel like Off-Piste is like mauvey enough to where it'll pair really nicely with the softer purples. I primed my lids with concealer and set them with my face powder as per usual. And I'm just putting that shade all through the crease. And you can actually see it does go on a little bit cool. So it almost looks like a really light purple rather than a pink anyway, which makes it perfect for the tones that I'm going for. I'm sorry if you hear my cold, any sniffles or coughs, I'll try to edit out, but I have been battling a cold for several days now, and I feel like a lot of people have had something. There's something going around. And unfortunately, I have no time to rest and recover, so just trying to carry on here. All right, I'm next gonna go in with the shade La Terrasse, which is, I guess it's like a dark, muted periwinkle. It's like a blue and purple mix, but very muted. And I'm just taking that on the same brush, but I'm just going to go a little bit lower in the crease and kind of focus it on the outer corner as well. That is a really pigmented shade. Just taking a little bit of that first crease shade that we started with around the edges to kind of soften and blend that out. Alrighty, and then I'm going to take a smaller brush and I'm going to go into the shade Valet Blanche, which is the really deep, kind of almost raisiny color. It's a really like blackened plum, and I'm going to pack that on the outer corner. And then I'll just take a little bit of that actually on the tip of my blending brush again, and I'll kind of blend that into the crease a little bit as well. And then while I'm here and I'm working in the outer corner, I'm going to take that deepest shade and go on the lower lash line, especially in the outer corner area, so that I can connect it up to the top. There's really no warmth to this purple. You know how sometimes deep purples will blend out to like a magenta sort of shade? This one is staying very cool toned. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with that lighter periwinkle shade on the lower lash line, just to kind of blend that out. I've done a lot of like blue looks and purple looks, but I don't think I've ever done a look that is this kind of cool tone periwinkle before. It's actually, I feel like it's very unique. I do wish that this Valet Blanche shade was a little bit deeper and more pigmented. It's definitely more on the buildable side, which is fine, but I feel like I was expecting it to be just a bit darker and punchier. All right, for my lid, I'm gonna take the purple shimmer here. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce this. It's just gonna be bad. I know I'm just gonna butcher it, but it is the lightest purple shimmer. Looks super pretty. And I'm just gonna put that all over the lid. I love how cool tone this is. I feel like I just have used so many purples that pull very warm and pinky, and this is pulling more, almost more gray and silver than anything. And then I think for this look, I'm actually going to take that same light purple up under the lower lash line on both sides, just to get a little bit of a pop there. Okay, and then I'm trying to think what we should do for an inner corner. I guess I will go with Les Alpes, which is, it's like a white iridescent pink to blue shift, and I will just pop a little bit of that. Ooh, pretty. That really just like brightened up the whole look, I feel. It looks almost like a UV effect. Super pretty, actually. Okay, I think that's gonna do it for look number one. So I'm gonna go do liner, lashes, and lips, and I'll be back to show you the finished look. Alrighty, and this is the first look. What do we think? I think this is really pretty. Like I said, I don't think I've ever created a look quite this tone. I love how cool toned it is. I did put some eyeliner on. I used the Clinique Quick Liner for Eyes Intense in the shade 15 Intense Aubergine, because this is the same kind of like really cool plummy color. It's almost like a blackened plum. I just put a little bit of that on the lower lash line and then a bit on the outer corners as well, just to kind of amp up the depth on the outer corner. The one kind of complaint that I have is that I wanted this Valet Blanche shade to just be that little bit punchier, but that being said, I do think that this look still has plenty of dimension to it, and I still really like the way that it came out. In case you're wondering, I used the Huda Beauty One Coat Wow mascara, and then for my lip combo, I used the NYX Suede Matte Lip Liner in the shade Moonwalk, the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Fair lipstick, and then I put on this Kevin & Coco Cool Ice Mint Lip Oil in the shade 1, because it's got a little bit of that like bluey purpley sparkle to it. Just trying to keep everything nice and cool toned to go with the eyes, and I really love the way that this came out. I feel like I definitely match the vibe of the palette and the packaging with this eye look on. So I will pass you on now to look number two, and we will see what else I can come up with from this palette. Okay, we're back. I left on the same lip combo from the last look because I feel like all of these looks are going to be cool toned and it's going to suit any look out of this palette. I usually don't film multiple looks one palette videos in one day, but I really wanted to get this video up for you guys, and I had time to film today, so we're just doing some little quick eye makeup changes in between. But I think for the next look, I'm going to do another monochromatic look with the greens, which are these two center columns in the palette. And I think I'm going to do a halo eye. So I'm going to grab the shade Fondue, which is the lightest of the green mattes, and I'm going to put that all through my crease. Look at this tiny brush I'm using. It's a MAC brush, but it's from like a Christmas travel set a million years ago. I desperately need to clean my brushes, so I'm just using what I have clean. I think I used this shade maybe in one of my other looks because I remember it being quite sheer, or maybe I'm confusing it with the light blue shade. At any rate, the lighter mattes in this palette are definitely sheer. They are buildable though. You can really build them up on themselves and get some good payoff, but maybe something to be aware of actually if you have a medium to deep skin tone. Not sure how this would translate. They do have like a white base to them, so maybe it would still work for other skin tones, but this is such a cute color. It reminds me of like mint chocolate chip ice cream, or like a pistachio latte or something. It's so cute. I love green. Green I think is my favorite color now. It used to be purple, but now it's green, if you wanted to know. So I built that up quite a bit through the crease. I'm now going to go in with the shade Ski, which is just like a couple shades down, but the same tone. And I'm going to use that to start building the structure of the halo eye. So I'll put that on the outer corner, and then I'll also put it on the inner corner. Something I've learned when I'm doing halo eyes is, especially on the inner corner, to try and follow the shape of my eye. I used to try to do just like vertical up and down kind of lines to create my halo, and I mean, you can even see when I look in the viewfinder how rounded my eye is, and I wondered why that never looked right on me and why I struggled with halo eyes. It's because I need to have a rounded shape. Kind of place your brush and just let your eye shape kind of guide where you push the color, if that makes sense. And then I'll go back into the shade Fondue and just kind of blend over the edges to make sure there's no harsh lines going on. I think I'm going to make a claim in general about this palette that I might have to take back later, but so far everything looks lighter on the eyes than it looks in the pan. Which is not necessarily a bad thing. That happens to me with Huda Beauty and Natasha Denona shadows. But like this shade Ski, when you look at it in the pan, it looks like it's going to be more of like a matcha green. And when I put it on my eyes, it definitely comes up a bit more minty. I'm not sure if you can see that, but just something to note. And I think that's also what was happening with the deeper like eggplanty shade that I used in the last look. It looks really deep, dark, and pigmented in the pan, but I think maybe the Nomad formula is just a little bit more of a diffuse, muted formula. But let's put that to the test with the shade Mont Blanc, which is the deepest green matte. I'm just going to do a little bit of shaping with this on the inner and outer corners. I mean, I think you can even see there, like it looks like it's going to be a deep forest green in the pan. And it is a forest green, but it's got more, almost more vibrance to it than you might think when you see it in the pan. I'm gonna go back into the shade Ski again and blend out those edges slightly. You can see I'm trying to leave a bit of open space through the center here. And again, this is coming up much more cool. I think in general, these greens have a lot of blue in them. So when you layer them on top of one another, it almost gives like a blue effect. I'm actually gonna deepen up the outer corner a little bit more than I deepen up the inner corner. Again, this is just an eye shape thing. I feel like more depth in the outer corner is always more flattering for me than the inner corner. So I just build up the outer corner that touch more. And I want to try these shimmers with a glitter glue this time. They are a thinner shimmer texture, so I want to see if I can get even more impact by using the NYX glitter primer. So I'm going to put some of that across the kind of negative space in the center here and up into that little middle area in the crease that we left blank. I'm going to take the shade Apres, which is the middle shimmer in the green shimmer row, and I'm gonna put that on the outside and the inside, layering over the mattes just slightly. And then I will take the shade Chamonix, which is the iridescent kind of white to pink to green to blue. There's a lot of shifts in this shade, and I'm gonna put that right down the middle. Oh, so pretty. I love how shifty that shade is. It's gorgeous. It really does have a shift to pink too. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to catch that on camera. All right, and then I'm just going to take my brush that we had the deepest shade on and just lightly kind of tap over the edges so we make sure we haven't lost our dimension. I do think I like these shimmers better with a glitter glue. I don't know, I just feel like I got a little bit more kind of bang for my buck and I didn't have to go back in with multiple layers. To the other eye the exact same way, so I'm taking my glitter primer. And then the shade Apres on the inside and the outside. And the shade Chamonix down the middle. That shade Chamonix is so pretty and special. I love it. Absolutely gorgeous, especially tapped over the glitter glue. I really do think that made a difference. Let's blend over those edges. Okay, and then for my lower lash line, I'm going to take that deepest green shade and put it on the outside. And then also on the inside, and leave a little space in the middle. And then I'll take the shade Ski, which is that slightly lighter shade, to just go around the edges of that deeper green to blend everything out. I think I'll take a little dot of glitter primer, just the tiniest little bit, to give the shimmer something to stick to on the bottom. And then I'm going to take the shade Apres on my pinky, on the inside and the outside, just like we did on the upper lid, just kind of mirroring that on the bottom. And then going in with that iridescent shade Chamonix right through the middle. Can you see that catch the light? That is an amazing shade. Might be my favorite shade in the palette. Definitely a contender. And then because I'm extra, I'm actually going to take a little bit of that shade Chamonix and put it in the inner corner. A traditional halo eye, I don't think you really highlight the inner corner, but I just like a bright inner corner on myself, and I also just want to keep putting this shade on my eyes as much as I can because it is so mesmerizing and pretty. Oh my gosh. Okay, here's where we are. Let me go do liner maybe? I'm not sure if I'll do liner, we'll see. But at least mascara, and then I'll be back to show you the finished look. Okay, and here is look number 2. I think this came out really cute, really fun, a pretty easy monochromatic green halo eye, but I definitely think the star of the show is that shade Chamonix, which has all of those shifts to it. And takeaways from this look is that I definitely prefer these shimmers over the top of a glitter primer. Just because they are a thinner formula, I think it just helps the pigment to really stick together and give you that really bright, shiny payoff that I, for one, am looking for when I'm doing like a more dramatic or colorful eye look like this. Again, I feel like I haven't really done a green eye look in these exact tones before. I love a good green eye look, but these are definitely more cool toned, minty, sort of evergreen tones, and I'm loving it. So I've got time to film one more look today. I'm torn between doing a fun kind of blue and purple look, which might be similar to the look that I did in my last video, or more of like a quote-unquote wearable look in case you wanted to use this palette before like work or something where, you know, you don't want to be super bright and colorful with your eye makeup. I do always like to include like those wearable options in my multiple looks videos just because I feel like sometimes when we're looking to buy palettes, we're looking at them with our ideal self in mind, like the self who has time to play around with makeup and wants to wear color, and not always with the realistic self, like, is this palette going to work for me in my everyday life? And so sometimes I do like to challenge myself with really colorful palettes to make more like wearable looks. Let me know in the comments if you find that helpful or if you'd rather just see pure fun, fantasy, inspiration. I can definitely take your feedback in stride the next time I make a multiple looks video. But I'm gonna go take this off of my eyes and we'll see where I land on what I want to do for look number 3. Okay, I think I might have actually come up with a compromise for look number 3. So I'm gonna do a look for work or just for like everyday minimal occasions to see if we can even do that with this palette. And then I'm going to show you how I would jazz it up a little bit. Like if you were going, say you're taking this palette traveling or something and you have a meeting, but then in the evening you're going to do something a little fun. So look number 3 is going to be a little 2-for-1 number. I also remembered why I don't do multiple eye looks in one day, because my eyes are screaming. Okay, so let's see if we can do a soft, little, light, everyday wearable eye look with this palette. I guess I can use the shade Raclette. I'll be honest, I think this is kind of a nothing shade. I kind of am at a loss of how to use this shade. Maybe it's a lid setting shade for me. I think it's actually a nice lid setting shade, but that's kind of its main use. It's like a pearly color, not quite white. It's like a little bit off white, a little bit of pink to it, but really not a lot. So that evened my lids out though, so that's nice. Let's go in with the shade Off Piste next, which is that kind of, I don't know, mauvey tone. And I'm gonna put that through my crease. I just feel like that is not showing up very well, so I'm gonna add the tiniest little bit of Haute Savoie, which is more of a muted rose magenta kind of shade. Just want a little bit of that because that shade Raclette that we put down as a lid setting shade, I think is making it really hard for any color to show up over top. I think we can do a little bit of like a subtle winged liner for an everyday look. So I'm going to take an angled brush into Valet Blanche, which is that deepest purpley eggplant color. And I'm going to keep this more so on the outer half of my lid and just give myself a really delicate little wing. I mean, I know everybody's definition of wearable looks is so different. To me, it just means like your makeup could potentially go unnoticed. Like it's not going to be the first thing that somebody notices about you. I'm going to take that same shade up underneath my lower lash line. Again, just kind of going halfway. Purple liner, I think, especially on like hazel, brown, and green eyes, I think you can definitely get away with that for day to day. Like if you looked at me straight on, I don't think you would notice right off the bat that my eyeliner is purple. Especially with this kind of like smoky, kind of plummy shade. It just looks like a shadow. I think maybe I'll take a little bit of Haute Savoie and mix it with a little bit of Off Piste and just run that under my lash line to kind of blend that out. Obviously, I say this all the time, but you can wear whatever makeup you want in whatever situation you want. I'm just trying to do something a little bit more minimal in case it's helpful for someone. And then I'm going to take the shade Last Run, which is one that we haven't used yet. It's a pretty like rosy pink. I think it has a bit of a flip to it to like gold and silver, but let's just kind of tap that over the eyes lightly. Because these shimmers are thinner, they are more of that like lid topper texture, so I think a lot of people wear that kind of eyeshadow on the day-to-day, like the Urban Decay Moon Dust shadows come to mind as like a really similar texture that just gives you a little twinkle to the eye. So if you wanted to do something really minimal, I think we've achieved that here. You would just add some mascara and you'd be done. And again, no one's gonna look at you and say, oh my God, you're wearing pink and purple on your eyes. But like in certain lights and when you're blinking or looking down demurely, people might catch sight of it and it just adds like a little bit of interest to an otherwise very simple, easy, everyday look. So we've done our kind of wearable version. Now let's say we want to amp this up a little bit. We're going out, we're going, I don't know what we're doing. We're doing something fun after work. I think my first step would be to go in with some more Haute Savoie and really amp up that color in the crease. This is actually a really, really pretty crease color and I think it's really wearable. It reminds me of the tones in the Pat McGrath Moonlit Seduction palette. There's similar kind of magenta, leaning, neutral, rosy kind of mattes in that palette, and I find them really easy to wear. I think I'd go ahead and amp that up on the bottom as well. And also go in with Valet Blanche again and just make our liner a little bit smokier and more kind of edgy, grungy, lived in, blended out. Yeah, I like that so much better than a prim and proper liner on myself. But I understand that not every occasion maybe necessarily calls for smoky liner, but hey. Oof, I actually am loving the way that that looks with the purple in the crease and the really smoked out purple liner. Oh my gosh. It's like a take on like a rock chick kind of smoky eye, but just with a little bit more color than a typical like black and gray. Loving this. We're gonna go in with some glitter glue on the lids. Just right over top of that shimmer that we already had on. It's not gonna make or break the look because we're about to put a darker shade on top. I'm gonna grab the shade Mountain Chalet and we're going to put that all over the lid. Yeah, baby. This is really what we're going to this palette for. We're not going to this palette for pared back, clean girl makeup. What a beautiful shade this is. Oh my gosh. As far as blues go, I think this is really unique because it pops. It doesn't sit very dark and heavy on the eyes. It's got some vibrance to it that's just, it keeps it looking a little bit more bright and fun. I'm going to take a little bit more of our crease shade just to blend that in. Like I said, we're just kind of doing a take on a smoky eye, but with purple and blue, which I think is so fun. Tell me why this looks so cool and effortless, even though it's bright and colorful and fun. I feel like this is just, yeah, this is it. I think we have to go in with a little bit of Les Alpes in the inner corner just to really bring, oh yeah, the vibrance and the fun. I'm ready for some margaritas in this eye look. And maybe we even take a little bit of Les Alpes just right in the center. Did you see that? How that just, oh my goodness, that just immediately elevated, oh my gosh, this look. I love this. I love how like celestial it looks, like a night sky, but it still feels very effortless and like kind of grungy. And I love that we're just like finger painting. Somebody actually commented on one of my shorts on YouTube about the fact that I was using my fingers to put makeup on, and I was like, I always use fingers to put makeup on when I can, like eyeshadow especially. I love when I can just throw a shadow across my lids with my fingers. Anyways, obviously I'm just gonna do a little mascara. I don't think my lashes can really take much more mascara, but we're gonna try to get some mascara on these babies one more time, and then I'll be back to show you the finished look number 3. Alrighty, and this is the third and final look. I think this one might actually be my favorite. I don't know, there's just something about the vibrancy of that blue shimmer. I feel like this would be such a fun look to wear to a concert because that blue has that little bit of like almost like a UV glow in the dark quality to it. I think it would look so cool in the light at night. I don't know, let me know in the comments if you would wear this look, where you would wear it, because I feel like it's such a fun one. And let me know which look was your favorite. Hopefully that was helpful to show you kind of the range of the Nomad Chamonix Apres Ski palette. Obviously this one is such a fun, colorful palette, but we found a way to tone it down, and I just absolutely love how nuanced the shades are in here. It's not just any old green, any old purple, or any old pink in this palette. They are very beautifully crafted, muted, just yummy, cool toned colors. I had so much fun putting these looks together. I hope you had fun watching it, and maybe this will give you some inspiration if you have this palette, or if you don't have this palette, you might have some similar colors in your collection. Get them out, have a play. This has definitely brought me out of my funk that I've been in since having a cold, and made me feel much more inspired and creative to be able to play with some makeup. So thanks so much for hanging out and playing with makeup with me today. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave if you would like to see more content from me. I, for one, would love to see you at my next video. So until then, I hope you have a great day wherever you are, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.